It's our big prediction and preview episode where we will give you our final thoughts on Boston College in their matchup against Georgia Tech. All of that and basketball talk on today's Locked On Boston College.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Thank you all for listening. If you've been listening to all our shows this week, I want to thank you personally for doing that. We've had some really interesting shows talking all about BC football and BC basketball. On today's show, we're going to dive into both of those topics as we preview BC football in their matchup against Georgia Tech and BC basketball against Holy Cross. With me today, as always, we have Eric Hoffses. Actually took a week off last week, but Eric is back. Eric, how's it going?
I am good. My ratings are better than all the other shows each week, right? Is that
absolutely? Your numbers always go through the charts when the people are clamoring for you when you're not there.
Awesome.
All right. So this is Eric's first episode post Phil Jurkovec's return. And I have to start off, Eric, and talk to you. What was your reaction and how does that change your thoughts about the final month of football for BC football?
Well, as someone that's holding a preseason ticket on BC over 7 wins, I cannot tell you how ecstatic I am that Phil Jurkovec is back. I mean, it totally changes the season around and the prognostications on this team. I really thought without him, like I was at the point where I was like, man, these guys might not make a bowl game. And with him back, I don't know, AJ. I think there's a chance they could win out with him. I mean, I feel like they still haven't even played their best ball of the year yet, which gives me a lot of optimism. And with the schedule, the rest of the way here, I see no reason why they can't win out. I don't think that's an unrealistic expectation for this team.
Yeah. And in the end, right, if that's the case, if they win out, and we could talk about the Wake Forest game at another time, because I agree with you. I think there's a chance if BC plays their best ball for that game, especially a late November game at home, they could win that. And I don't think Wake is as good as people like. They could score a lot of points, but I think there's some deep flaws in that team that are going to keep getting exposed. But
absolutely.
So if BC were to win out, they'd be 8-4. They win a bowl. Say they go into a bowl game and win 8, and they win. They are 9-4. Which was what I predicted all along, that they would win 9 games. So, every team goes through their highs and lows. The lows for BC this year were weird because Jurkovec was out. Now it's back to, putting your foot on the, putting the pedal to the metal as BC faces off against Georgia Tech in Atlanta. Now I have to apologize. Yesterday I said I couldn't remember the last time BC played Georgia Tech at home. They played them at home last year. So I totally had flaked on that when I was recording at like 10:30 at night, but it's going back down to Atlanta. They played them in 2012. They lost that game, which they did a lot of times back, during that year. Eric, what are your thoughts about the Yellow Jackets? And, they're 3-6. Are they going to be much of a challenge for BC?
They shouldn't be if BC is on a trajectory, which I think we both think they are. I know at the beginning of the year, Georgia Tech was playing a lot better. Even preseason, I think they were a team that you said these guys might be pretty good this year. Like they had that potential,
yep.
But they have not lived up to it. Their defense has been wretched. They're in the bottom, 4 or 5 in the league in almost every defensive category there is. Offensively, they go through many games where they don't have much clicking. Like their passing game is not much of a threat. Their running game is decent, not great. So yeah, this is the team that BC should blast. Like this, I feel like this is one of those games where BC might be able to have like a comfortable, 10-point win or something. I for one am shocked that BC is the underdog in this game. It's maybe just Vegas not paying attention to how much better this BC team is with Phil Jurkovec at quarterback. So I guess that's what I'll chalk it up to. But I fully expect BC to win this game.
And you bring up the defense, and I thought that was a great. It's the biggest factor to me when deciding how to make a prediction on this game. Georgia Tech's pass defense is 110th in the country. They're 111th overall, and BC is just waiting. Zay Flowers is probably drooling looking at this game at this point. And now that they had Jurkovec, Jurkovec played last week with very little practice. I think he only, he got some throws in, but he really didn't play with the ones during practice. If I remember what Halfley said correctly, he's got a whole week of that behind, back into the system. So I'm not expecting him to be perfect, but I also am expecting some big plays out of BC's offense. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, they are waiting to erupt, I think. And, you pointed out Georgia Tech's pass defense being so poor. And if you think about the ACC, I mean, there's hardly even any good quarterbacks in the ACC this year. So the fact that they're allowing this many yards to these really below average passing attacks in the ACC, that speaks volumes to me. Like, it's now or never. This is the week for this BC passing attack to break out. I agree with you.
Now, there's still going to be some concerns. If you look at the defensive side of the ball, there's some injuries heading into this game. Based off Halfley's comments, it does not sound like Isaiah Graham Mobley is going to play. He said he basically, in Halfley's term, he said, it didn't look good. To me, that sounds doubtful to me. Brandon Sebastian, we don't know if he's going to return. But honestly, they're deep enough, I think, at cornerback to deal with that. And Trey Barry, they said he's practicing, but we don't know about that, along with Tyler Vrabel, who will be back. So some injuries hit BC. And of course, Jason Maitre and Jamin Muse are gone. Is there anything from your perspective, Eric, about this game that concerns you about Georgia Tech?
No, I hate to say that, but I can't really find one thing they do really well. That the best thing I found is they don't commit many penalties, just like BC. But yeah, there's nothing they do particularly well. So this, like I said, I was shocked BC was an underdog based on what I've seen and read about Georgia Tech.
I thought this year, as I said, and this is one of those predictions that I was wrong on, that I thought Georgia Tech would have a breakthrough year where they started to make some noise in the coast. They obviously are not. If they lose this game, they are most likely, they have Notre Dame and Georgia to end the year. They're going to go 3-9. Does Geoff Collins get fired for that? Or do they give him another year, given that it does take a little while to really flesh out the Paul Johnson triple option offense out of their system?
One more year, and I don't think he survives that either.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they don't seem like they're a program heading in the right direction. So, Eric, let's do some predictions here. It's, you said it was a Georgia Tech, they were favored. I've seen it all over the place. I've seen BC favored. It's always like 1 or 2 points either way. What are you predicting for this game?
BC 31-17. I think it's a comfortable win this weekend, AJ.
Oh, you're right around where I'm at. I'm going to go with BC 38, Georgia Tech 21. So I think Georgia Tech might score a few. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's probably the most talented player on their side of the ball. And he may get a point here. I mean, a bit explosive here or there. But I think what we're going to end up with after this game is Boston College being bowl eligible. And I know for some fans, they're like, oh, it's going to be the Fenway Bowl, blah, 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 blah. But this is going to be a big game for BC, so we'll have to see that. Now, in a moment, Eric and I are going to get into the NCAA team games of the week, some of the ACC matchups, and everything in between. But before we do that, let me tell you about McDonald's. McDonald's has been serving customers around the world for since 1965. McDonald's has been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It is a place where family and friends can come to reconnect. It's a place where classmates can come and meet up for a study group, knowing they'll have dependable Wi-Fi and an endless supply of French fries and McFlurries. This morning, my wife's mother came to help on Veterans Day to help with childcare. She brought us some McGriddles for my kids and a sausage egg muffin for me. I was a happy person. It was a delicious breakfast for us and a great in a pinch. Now, if you're heading over to McDonald's, check out their Wi-Fi, clean stores, and all the goodies that they have, including McFlurries and French fries. McDonald's, thank you for sponsoring Locked on Boston College. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.
Who did?
This is Locked On Boston College. AJ Black. We just talked about the BC prediction for their Saturday game against Georgia Tech, but we're going to jump around the ACC and talk about some of the other football games going around. But on Thursday, the biggest news had to do with one of the other FBS programs in the Northeast, and that's the UConn Huskies, who hired Jim Mora Jr. as their new head coach. Eric, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, that one came out of left field. Well, at least to me, I wasn't really following the coaching search too much, but he's like one of those names like you hear in like low level jobs, and I swear people put him up on like the hot boards just to like fill some space. And I was really surprised to hear about that. It's honestly for UConn. I mean, I don't. It's not like I can think of a better name they could have got. Not that I think he is a good name, but you know what I'm saying. I don't know who would even take that job. So I guess they're kind of lucky they got someone who was once actually thought of as a hot name in college football a few years ago. And that's about as good as I could do. But I mean, that program is just a disaster, obviously, right now. So yeah, good luck to him. I mean, he hasn't coached been a head coach in a few years though. So I'm wondering like what kind of staff he can even bring over there, but
yeah, I was starting to get worried that they were going to start poaching some BC staff, but I don't think. But you know, you're right. There's not much you can do. And when you said a coach that once was good, everything about Jim Mora Jr. reminds me of like the profile of bringing Randy Edsall in when they brought him back. Like he's, you know, a coach that once was good, and it just feels like they're just, you know, he sounds like he has the exact same profile as Edsall, except Edsall is actually good at one point. I don't really think Mora had that much of success. So we'll have to see. I was thinking UConn would have done better with like, what's his name? Bob Chesney from Holy Cross. I don't know if you would have taken it, but something like a younger coach, but we'll talk more about that on Monday. I just want to know your thoughts on that. And now let's check out some of the games. We're talking betting here. We're going to give our odds and some of our games. Right now we're recording at Thursday night, and Pitt is beating UNC 17-7. We'll get a full recap that on Monday, but Saturday games. First of all, Syracuse and Louisville. It's a 3-point spread for Louisville. Man, I don't know who I would pick in this game. Eric, who would you go with?
Oh man, what a just classic ACC like kind of mediocre team matchup this is. I mean, just give me the points, AJ, or just shoot me in the head.
All right.
I have no interest in this game.
Yeah. Speaking of no interest in betting, at least for me.
Well, I have interest in betting, just not this game.
Yeah, no, and get specific games. So Clemson is a 41-point favorite over UConn, who we were just talking about. I got to go with Clemson in this. I've been waiting all year for their offense to pick up. They scored 30 points against Louisville last week. Maybe this is the week that they put it all together. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I'd have to go the same way as you. Like, I can't even envision Clemson scoring 41, but I could never, under any circumstance, take that UConn team in the game. So give me Clemson, and I'm with you. I say their offense breaks out finally.
All right. On to Miami and Florida State. This is one of those heated historical rivalries in the ACC. Miami's a 2.5-point favorite. Locked On Florida State host Drake says that this is a game that you don't ever take the favorite because the underdog is going to be scrappy and wants to win. I still think I'm going to pick Miami in this one.
Yeah, I as someone who's 40 years old, this game is so depressing to me because when I was growing up, this was just a matchup every year. And I used to be a Canes guy, and one of my friends used to be an FSU guy. And we had some fun watching those games. But yeah, I got to just in my fanhood, I'm going to take the Canes. But man, the Canes have been hot the last couple of weeks too. They're playing hard for Manny down the stretch here and might keep them around.
And if Pitt somehow falls apart at some point, there's still a possibility they can make the ACC championship.
I know. How crazy is that?
That's nuts. And speaking of teams but these are teams heading in the wrong direction. Duke and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is an 11.5-point favorite, but Duke has been playing abysmal football lately. I'm going to go with Virginia Tech in this one, but this will be one of those games I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
Nope, I will not be playing this one. And I think I'd actually take Duke, and maybe the boys show up for David Cutcliffe. I'm starting to feel bad for him with where this program is heading right now.
Yeah, he's got to be done after this year, right?
Yeah, I can't see how he's having fun doing this anymore either at his age.
Yep. All right. So an interesting game. We're heading into the evening. There's two interesting ACC games, Notre Dame and Virginia. And I'm not sure. I don't know if you've been reading reports. If Brendan Armstrong is going to play. I think he is. But Notre Dame is a 5.5 point favorite. It's in Virginia. Give me Virginia in this one in an upset.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking twice about that. I'm surprised in that line. And Virginia at home, this is going to mean a hell of a lot more to them than Notre Dame. Give me Virginia.
And then the game of the week. I mean, it could be one of the bigger games in all of college football. NC State versus Wake Forest. Wake Forest is a 2-point favorite. It's in Wake. Wake is on a 1-game losing streak after dropping that game last week to UNC. We talked about it earlier. I think there's some major issues with this team, and I think against a good defense like NC State, it's going to get exposed again. I'm going to take the Wolfpack.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to go against you. I don't think NC State, as good as they are, I don't think they can stop the Wake offense still. So I'm going to go with Wake.
All right. So whipping around the country, there's some other games to look at. One of the big ones is Texas A&M and Ole Miss. Texas A&M is a 2.5 point favorite. I don't know. I get this feeling in this game, and this is why I don't bet, because I bet on stupid things. that Lane Kiffin has those moments where he has, stupid magic where things happen. This seems like a game where he could find that. So I'm going to take Ole Miss in this one.
Wow. I'm going the opposite because I think Lane Kiffin's going to do something to screw it up. So we're going head to head on a lot of these this week.
All right. And again, you don't want to bet where I'm going. So
all right, good. I'll take that as a good sign.
Oklahoma and Baylor. Oklahoma is a 5.5 point favorite. I like Oklahoma. I'll go with them on this one.
Yeah, they're on a roll. Baylor's having a nice season, but I just think Oklahoma's in a different stratosphere, and they know they have something to play for here down the stretch. So I'm going Oklahoma as well.
And then finally, the other game I want to talk about, unless you have another one you want to talk about, Michigan is a 1.5 favorite over Penn State. And normally I would pick Harbaugh to fall on his face, but Penn State is hard. Man, they're a hard team to watch. I'm going to go with Michigan in this one.
Yeah, I feel like the team just has heard the rumors about James Franklin leaving, and they're just not really playing hard for him, I don't feel like. So I think Michigan is playing hard for Harbaugh every week. They're not an elite team, but they're a very good team. And I think they take care of business against Penn State because they still have something to play for here. They're sneaking into the just sitting outside the top 5 here. So they know they control their own destiny, basically.
Any other games that you wanted to talk about, Eric?
No, I think you hit on all of them, AJ.
All right. And Air Force is facing our friend Steve Adazio. 2.5 point favorite for Air Force. Where do you got that?
I actually have, I legit have put money on Air Force. I do check out Adazio's weekly press conferences still just for a laugh. And this week, the theme of it is he was telling, it might be true too, but he's saying he's on his 4th Mike linebacker this year. He's got guys playing all out of position. It's not a lot of time to get ready for that option attack. Like all of the bingo excuses were coming out. And I was like, wow, he's going to get steamrolled this week by Wake. They aren't ready for this. By the way, the heat is way turned up on him right now after I did not know this, but I've heard of the border war, but I didn't know it was Colorado State and Wyoming. And
it's a big deal.
Their fans are very upset that they lost to a really bad Wyoming team last week.
So I'm sure you heard his quote. I think it was Hoya Eagle was passing it around
yes.
What was that in reference to? Because I cannot listen to his press conferences, but I'm sure everyone knows it by now. What was he talking about?
He was just talking about the effort of his team against Wyoming, which wasn't good. And like, it's just classic Daz, he like kind of half-ass takes responsibility and then lists about 12 reasons why the player has lost the game. So it's classic out of his playbook. I'm hoping they keep him around another year though, because it is on those weekends when BC gets stomped by someone. It's fun to at least look over at what Adazio is doing. And I've shared on Twitter, I've shared some good accounts to follow to just wallow in the misery of some of the Colorado State fans.
I mean, it feels like you're in the Twilight Zone reading what the Colorado State
Oh my
does.
God, dude! Every week, like
we've been there.
The guy last week, 2nd and 9, we're running it up the middle again. It's stuff like that. It's just it's comical. It's the same shit.
So in a moment, let's talk about basketball, because BC basketball had their first game, and I know Eric always has some good thoughts about that. But before we do that, we're talking about things we like. I like Built Bar. Built Bar, if you haven't tried by now, you are missing out. They say it's a protein bar, but does not taste like one. It's amazing. You have to check it out. They're made with 100% real chocolate. When you bite into it, you know you're having an experience that's different than any other protein bar that tastes chalky, waxy, or just hard to swallow. They're low carb, low calorie, low sugar, and high in protein. I have one every day as my midday snack. Gives me the energy I need to get through work, to give me, keep my hunger at bay, and it's a good thing to try out. Built Bar has so many different flavors you can check out, including coconut raspberry, mint brownie, coconut almond, salted caramel, double chocolate, and cherry barcia, and they have specialty flavors that you could check out all the time. All you have to do is head over to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCK15, and you'll receive 15% off your first order. Again, head on over to Built Bar and use promo code LOCK15 at BuiltBar.com. Now, we are back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. You know me, I've told you some of the bets that I've made. I've got Georgia winning the national championship. I'm still feeling good on that one. I have NC State at 6.5 wins. I think I already covered that one. But you can do all sorts of bets within games or in futures over at BetOnline. Head over to their website or mobile interface. Sign up today. It is so easy to use. And when you sign up and use promo code Locked On, they'll give you a 50% welcome bonus. That's a win right there. From basketball, football, baseball, postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 21 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. So make sure to head on over to BetOnline, where the game starts. So we gave you, this is Locked On Boston College, we gave you our predictions for the BC football game on Saturday. Head over to BetOnline. You can make your wager over there. But we're going to switch it up now. Let's talk about basketball, because BC basketball is 1-0. And Eric Hoffses, who's joining me today, he's got a lot of opinions on BC basketball. And I'd love to hear what you thought about Earl Grant's first game and kind of how BC basketball approached that game.
Well, I mean, I hear there's definitely some negative, we'll call it, Twitter reactions on the team, like, oh, you guys shouldn't be getting all excited about this. They're playing Dartmouth. They stink. It's true. Dartmouth sucks. They're not a good team. They're not even a good Ivy League team. They're kind of, not even going to make any noise in that conference. But what I did see as a basketball nerd and someone who kind of like looks for stuff on the court and just doesn't watch the shot, like leave the guy's hand and watch go into the rim. The help defense was outstanding. Like, I saw rotation. I saw guys sagging and helping out on the ball handler. I didn't see guys going free of the hoop all night long. Like, the defense was so good. Now, obviously, they're going to be tested by much better teams along the way. But from a first start, it was great. It was great to see the defense like just step up and win them a game by creating turnovers and getting them some easy buckets. It's refreshing to not see them have to put up like 85 points to win a game. So I'm really excited where the program's headed, and obviously a lot of people were very excited today about the recruiting class officially coming in and really great ranking in their recruiting rankings as well. Yeah.
So they were top 25 on Rivals. They were top 35 on 247. But what floored me, and I didn't realize this until BC put it out there, this was the first time in BC basketball history that they had commitments from 2 4-star players.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because you watch, that seems like it's par for the course for most ACC schools. But, Earl Grant, to his credit, went out there. Donald Hand and Prince Aligby, I think is how you say his name. 2 4-star commits coming in next year that you add in with DeMar Langford and Gianni Thompson. Some of these younger guys, you get the program heading in the right direction. Eric.
Yeah, he's getting some Well, he's got some blue chip guys. I especially people who are listening to this podcast. I think you definitely obviously have a lot more football fans than basketball ones just by nature. There's more of them. I would just, not to be the Debbie Downer, but I would remind people for basketball, like being a 4-star in basketball is not quite as I was going to call it a slam dunk, but that's really a bad pun, but it's true. In football, when you get a 4-star kid, rarely are those kids like just don't pan out and do anything. And basketball, you know, the 4-star guys are not always locks. A lot of them are like Hamilton was a couple of years ago, where they got the chiseled bodies and they're athletic and maybe have one good skill set. And that's kind of how some of these guys get their real high rankings. So it's great that they had a good recruiting class. Just don't pencil them into the Final Four yet, BC fans. Like, let's see what these guys do on the court, because it's not always a given with basketball recruits.
We were talking about the improvement in defense. I think Tyler Calvaruso 247 put it up that he said that against Dartmouth, they had their first 24-second violation again on defense that they've had since 2017. They caused their first 24-second violation.
Really?
Which I'll take his word for it, but that's crazy if it took 4 years for that defense to do that.
That seems insane.
Yeah. But I mean, we know how BC's defense is going, but it's one game, right? It's Dartmouth. This weekend you have Holy Cross. Do you know anything about Holy Cross basketball this year?
Yeah, I know about them. Yes. That, it's pretty much along the same lines as Dartmouth. So hopefully it's the same. And anyone who follows my Twitter, we know we're riding the BC under for a while here. This is going to be a sneaky good bet, I think, on BC hoops.
That last game against Dartmouth was a scary under, because I took your word for it. I went on BetOnline and I think they covered by 3 points, and it looked like an easy bet going into halftime, because it looked like they needed to score like 90 points, I think. But then all of a sudden Dartmouth's offense just showed up, and it really started to hit that. But I agree with you. I think that's going to be a big one to go with, to follow through the season. Eric, any players stick out to you specifically?
Not yet. I need to see more of a sample size before I get a hard opinion. I wish I could give like a more interesting answer than that, but I don't want you pulling out the tape on me in a couple of weeks. So something I said. So give me 2 or 3 more games to watch, and I'll have some better takes on BC hoops.
All right, Eric, where can people find you on social media?
All my college sports hot takes, EJ Hoffses. That's EJ and my last name, Hoffses on Twitter, and get my barbecue feed on Instagram and Facebook, Hoffa BBQ.
All right, Eric, thank you for joining us. This is AJ Black. On Monday, we will be talking about the Georgia Tech game. We'll have Mitch Wolf to join us and give us his full analysis. Thank you all for following. If you have not done so already, go to YouTube. Just look up Locked On Boston College and hit subscribe. Even if you're not going to use YouTube, it helps us tremendously in growing our base. More people will find us if you go to YouTube, and we'll get more followers. It'll get more promotion, publicity for the podcast. It helps a ton. So head over to YouTube and do that. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at AJBlack_BC, and we'll all see you again soon. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.